Good day and welcome to Lecture 4. Today we will be discussing ethical decision-making models. The nature of ethical decision-making involves choices between compelling alternatives. How do you choose? What do you need to consider? All decision-making models incorporate an examination of the values of everybody involved in a scenario. Furthermore, these models presuppose a high degree of commitment and accountability. Although there are many decision-making models, we will take a look at two models, the adapted Storch model and the Flower model. Decisions are made when we have to solve a problem. For this reason, we are first going to look at the generic problem-solving model. 5 steps could be followed to solve any problem. Step 1 is collecting data. In gathering of the data pertaining to a specific case, you need to ensure that the data that you gather is relevant and as complete as possible. You will seek to answer questions such as why, what, where, when, and who. The second step involves identifying the challenges or dilemmas. You have to determine what is the real challenge or dilemma, especially when you have nearly equal competing decisions. What is the truth about the challenge or dilemma? Is there any untruth or lie in this challenge or dilemma? What could be possible with the actions that were taken? Result-wise, what were the possible actions that could have been taken in this situation? Step 3 involves identifying alternative actions. After considering and evaluating the importance of each component listed under Step 2, you need to decide on a range of possible actions related to the actions that were already taken. Step 4 involves making a choice. What is the single best option of the alternative action and who should implement or suggest these options? Finally, Step 5 involves taking an action and evaluating the actions implemented. Here, you state and implement the actions. You need to follow up and review the actions that are implemented and make adjustments where needed. The following diagram shows the Storch model. Storch has reduced the 5 steps of the generic problem-solving model to 3 steps. He combined the middle steps, and this model illustrates the interconnectedness of all of the essential principles that you need to consider in ethical decision-making. The first step involves looking at the case from all different angles, considering the problem, the people, and the ethical components involved. Secondly, you have to clarify and evaluate, and it is here that you need to look into the ethical principles that might be in play. You need to consider the professional codes of ethics, the values of all parties involved, social expectations, and also the legal requirements. Now you can list possible plans of actions together with their consequences for consideration. Finally, you can take action and course of review what happened and adjust as necessary. The second model that we are going to discuss is the adapted Flower model, a model of ethical approach represented in a flower diagram. The diagram helps represent the process as an approach to ethical challenges in the context that indicates the relationship to each other. Each petal indicates a characteristic of the scenario that should be considered to guide thoughts on the situation at hand. For instance, there are always moral issues that come into play, external conditions, consequences of actions, and ultimately the goal of care. Petals can represent influential factors that pertain to external conditions. This is followed until all parties are satisfied that all possible approaches are covered. The same factors can influence the persons involved. The aim is to create each factor back to the center of the flower and focus on the ethical concerns around that specific factor, and in doing so leads to the next factor that builds towards the final decision to be made. The thinking process during the flower approach will never result in the same thinking pattern, and it will never be possible to know beforehand what solution will be.